All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how to install the trim rings on the 17-inch Sasquatch wheels. First thing you need to do is make sure you have your trim rings and your 12 bolts that hold the trim ring to the wheel. A little bit of anti-seize for the fasteners. I'll explain later. Some safety glasses for using a blowgun when you blow out the holes for the bolts. Some cleaner. You can use simple green. This is just water with dish soap in it, in a spray bottle, a rag or a clean cloth for wiping the wheel off, making sure the surface is clean, an air gun. You need the T45 bit for the fasteners for removing torquing, a 3/8 straight ratchet with a short extension, as well as a torque wrench, alternate for running in. You can use a drill with a clutch on it, and an adapter for running that down. So the first thing you need to do is locate this little divot that's on the trim ring. This is where the valve stem for your tire is going to go. So I just put a piece of tape on here to show you that, illustrate it. On the wheel, I've identified it. So your trim ring has that little cutout for insulation on the wheel, so you have access to it. If you have it off, it'll still bolt up, but you won't have access to your valve stem for inflating or deflating tires. So again, you want to make sure you have this opening for the valve stem in the right spot. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure these surfaces on the back side of the trim ring are clean. That's what the water and the cloth are for. And same thing here on the wheel. You want to make sure this section, the outer part of the trim ring where it sits, is clean. You don't want to have any dirt or debris in this. If there is, when you install the trim ring, it can prevent the trim ring from coming all the way down, as well as damage the surface. This is the surface where, if you're running the functional bead locks, where the tire bead gets sandwiched between the trim ring and the wheel, or the bead lock and the wheel. So you want to make sure that doesn't have any rocks or debris, metal in it, as well as on here, same thing. You want it to be clean. If you didn't know, there's actually 24 bolt holes along the circumference of the wheel, where the trim ring only uses 12 of them. So you want to make sure all these are clean. Originally, the wheels come with a yellow anti-seize on there. Anti-seize or thread sealant to make sure they don't fall off, as well as prevent galling between the cast aluminum wheel and the steel fasteners. So you want to make sure this is all clean and pretty simple. You use simple green. I've got my water and soap. You're just going to wipe down that surface, make sure it is clean. It's flat. You don't have any rocks, you don't have any metal or anything on here that will damage this mounting area. Most people will not run the bead locks, but in case you ever do, you want to make sure that surface is nice and smooth and doesn't have any damage to it. If it does, you can have problems with the tire holding air when you're using the bead locks. All right, so I have gone and wiped off my wheel. I've cleaned out all the bolt holes, which is very important. This is a cast aluminum wheel, and you have these bolts which are steel. So there's a very small possibility that when you're installing these bolts, they could gall up inside these holes. So it's more likely if you're running a stainless steel fastener, or if you've changed out your hardware, where you have a soft aluminum like the cast iron of the wheel, and like a soft stainless steel or another metal. What can happen is, under that torque as you're applying it, the two metals can kind of separate and almost like weld themselves together. So you want to make sure these are clean. There's nothing in no debris or anything installed or remaining inside the wheels. The fasteners have this yellow thread sealant in them when they come off from the factory, so that's fine, that can be on there, but you don't want any chunks of it or large pieces that are still stuck in either the bolt hole or around the bolt. Another thing is, if you're like me and you're installing these, you know, every few weeks, taking them on, taking them off, you want to put a little bit of anti-seize. So not very much, just a little, just to further reduce the chances of galling and damaging your wheels. So you may be asking, well, why do we have these trim rings? Well, those trim rings serve a lot of purposes. They provide protection for your tire. They provide protection for your valve stem. Just a little bit of area, something to prevent a rock or tree branches or anything from getting inside and damaging your valve stem. It also prevents anything from getting up close to the bead where the tire is physically mounted. It also prevents anything from damaging this surface where the beads would go if you're running a bead lock tire, or a tire that's secured with the bead lock. So there are many purposes for these trim rings. It's more than just weight. As you can see on mine, I've powder coated them white to kind of match the color of the Bronco. But the next step, after you've cleaned off your wheels, cleaned off the surfaces, everything's good to go, you've applied a little bit of anti-seize to each one of the 12 bolts that you're going to use. I'm using just a Permatex anti-seize, right? It says right there, seizing, galling, corrosion. So again, I didn't use very much. You're gonna want to take your trim ring, again, with the cutout for the valve stem properly located, and then you're gonna want to start each of the bolts, all 12, you want to have them mounted before you start tightening them up. So it's not too hard. They all line up pretty good. And you're just gonna start all of these. All right, so I have all 12 fasteners installed, just hand tight. I'm gonna tighten these initially to in a star pattern. So I'll start off at this fastener, then this fastener, then this fastener, then this fastener, this one, and this one, and then start all over again. So I'm using this little Milwaukee M12 set to 12. It won't over torque it, but it's enough to run it down. You don't want to just rip in there and go all the way to the max torque. As you can see, the wheel's moving in, or the trim ring is moving in and sitting more flush. All right, so just to go over that again, started here at 12 o'clock, went to 4 or 5, whatever this was. So in a kind of a triangle star. So top, here, 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 and then did it again. Moved to this one, then to this fastener. So essentially you're doing a star to try and bring the ring evenly to the wheel. So you can easily do that with a ratchet. There's, you know, in the same thing. I just like using the drill. It's nothing special, a little bit quicker. And the reason why you want this extension is if you did not have the extension when you went to try this, your kind of hands are hitting the tire as you're tightening it. So the extension allows it to stand off a little bit further so that you can have some more swinging room. So the last step for the install is torquing it. So I have just a little torque wrench here set to 20 foot-pounds. If you have you can use a smaller 1/4 inch drive or whatever you use. Just 20 foot-pounds is all you want. It's a steel fastener going into a aluminum wheel. You can easily over torque these and strip out the bolt hole in the wheel. So again, just a simple, light 20 foot-pounds. It's not that much. As you can see, I'm not cranking on too hard, and I'm still have some torque action after I ran my drill or used my drill on this. So, and I'm not on here cranking on them too much. Oh, that was this one. Which one did I miss? So again, I used my drill to run them down, and I was still torquing up to the 20 foot-pounds. I did not over torque them and then come back and torque them. So that's how simple it is to install these. Again, I've installed these a few times, so threads are always clean. I always make sure that the bolt holes are always clean. See, that's why you go back and check. Make sure you tighten everyone. I missed one. And it's that simple. That's how you install the trim rings on the Sasquatch wheel. Thanks for watching. I'll have a couple more videos here shortly. Probably a video on how to remove these and what to look for when you remove them. But that's it. It's that simple. Matter of cleaning your trim ring, cleaning your wheel, making sure all your bolts are clean, applying some anti-seize to them, installing, make sure you have all of them installed, run them in, and then torque them in a nice crosshatch pattern. And that's it. You're ready to go. Thanks for watching.